we get great responses that, you know, their eyes have been opened to.
We're all special and individuals.
We don't wear brand labels. It's different.
In the Bible, it says in Matthew 5:23-24, it says,
this group has been around via Facebook. One of my friends
Cool thing to do at the moment, and like until you're married.
Hey, welcome to Saym TV. My name is Jake, and today on our panel we have Shani, Sandra, and Shao. We'd like to welcome them to, this evening, and also welcome to our live audience. You guys look good tonight. Unfortunately, you won't see them, but they do look good. Today we'll be talking about Facebook, now social networking. Now, guys, what's your social network preference, if you say it?
I've been through a few, actually. I kind of went from MySpace, Bebo, and sort of settled for Facebook now.
Bebo, eh? I thought Bebo was just for islanders.
I could be islander.
Hey.
Bebo was my first social networking thing. It's the only one my dad would let me have.
No, I'm just on Facebook, that's it. And I check it like once a week, maybe, if I'm lucky, yeah. Pretty much.
Serious? I'm like so addicted to mine. It's just so addictive. I love it.
Well, I'm on Facebook as well. Now, how many of you guys have the other accounts in Bebo and MySpace still activated?
No,
No,
cancelled mine.
deleted.
Facebook all the way.
Deleted. Well, you know, some people out there, you know, they have, you know, accounts with everyone. You know, Bebo, Facebook, and Twitter. And, you know, they have all these accounts they have to keep up with, so it takes most of their time. And like, so yeah, social networking, guys. Negative and positive effects. What do you guys think in our society today?
I must admit, I don't like Twitter.
Really?
I think Twitter's very, I don't know, every time I've seen anything about Twitter on the TV, it's always been a negative, horrible slandering of someone else.
To me, it seemed like a little bit stalkerish, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
so-and-so is going to have her hair cut, or, you know, I'm going to pick up pizza. Well, if anyone wants to know where that person is, they do now.
It's almost sad.
I know, I just find it frustrating, actually.
You can't see the positive, like, you know, you know, we're good friends, we'll quickly just tell each other what we're doing, I don't know.
But tell the whole world.
I suppose that's true.
I guess the stalking aspect of it can be fun, you know, if it's like celebrities and stuff, or even on Facebook stalking. Yeah, but it's still...
Well, it's not really stalking because you're allowed to look at those comments. You know, that's what they're made for, you reckon? Like Twitter. I mean, who are some of your favourite bands out there? Because a lot of the guys on Twitter are celebrities, and a lot of the fans follow them just to, you know, see what they're up to. Like, you know, oh, I'm blowing my nose at this present time.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Celebrities. Yes.
Well, for me anyway, like one of the Twitter guys that I like to follow is one of my favourite groups, and it's Gaither Vocal Band. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it.
Yep.
But yeah, once you hear them, then you've heard real music. But these guys, I keep up with them because I like to know where they're at, where they're touring, and it's cool. Like some of the places they visit, like they could be in Adelaide, and they can be like, oh, we're at this really cool restaurant, and it could be like, you know, it could be a real plug-in for some of the places that they go to, and it'll be like, for you, it'll be like, oh, sweet, you know, I'll visit that place as well. But again, we do have that, you know, negative side of it where people say, oh, yeah, you're fat, LOL, or I don't know what the slang is nowadays, LMAO or whatever it is.
I know what you mean there. I mean, quite often, if there's some sort of natural disaster or whatever, quite often the celebrities will, you know, plug charities and things like that, you know, and I mean, that has a positive side, definitely. Definitely.
So how much time would you guys say? Well, we've heard Shao once a week on Facebook.
5 minutes a week, maybe.
Too much.
Sandra, do you want a calculator to calculate your
Well,
hours?
it actually went to a stage where it just got too much. I was spending so much time on there, but I ended up cancelling it because I was being a good girl, had to concentrate on my studies, but I sort of caved in maybe a couple of months later. but yeah, kind of a lot, because you keep in touch with lots of friends. I don't know, you see all the pictures and stuff. It's all good.
Well, cancelling it, they used deactivating. It's pretty smart how they did it. You can't really...
I only just changed my password. That's all I did.
Okay.
And then forgot it somehow.
Yeah. Shani, yourself, how much time?
Way too much. I think in the morning when I get to work, I open it up and stays open all day.
Oh no.
And then I log off at the end of the day, go home and open it back up at home for a bit. But that doesn't mean I'm on there like all day. I actually do work, but yeah.
So if your boss is out there, she does do it. The craziest thing is like you don't need a computer to access this. A lot of the you know people a lot of people access Facebook with their mobiles. Like you see them checking into places like you know checking into my crib and things like that. So
See, I don't do that. Just computer. That's it. Where there's no computer, no Facebook.
Yeah, I kind of like that as well.
yes, well we'll come back to that. But for the meantime, we'll switch over to our music segment, which is Nathaniel and Rachel, and we'll see what song they have for us this week. Guys, over to you.
Thanks, guys. I'm Nathaniel.
And my name's Rachel.
We're your media review team. Today we've got a cool album from Chris Tomlin called If Our God Is For Us. Chris Tomlin, born in 1976 and man from Texas. And he got his beginnings from a group called Passion or Generation 268 in the US, where he was leading out in worship services. And that's taken him to a musical career, which has got a couple of albums out now.
Yeah, this album is his latest, and he varies from light pop contemporary stuff to really slow and meaningful stuff as well. His lyrics are very uplifting and very easy to listen to. Quite, you know.
They relate well to young people as well, I found.
And you can.
Yeah. We've got a little bit of a demo of one of his songs, so just sit back and enjoy and have a little bit of a taste of what he does.
This is our God. This is our God.
That was just an example of his song "This Is Our God," one of his more slow contemporary kind of songs. So that's Chris Tomlin.
Give it a listen because he's really good.
Check him out, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm starting to collect a few CDs for my music library in my car. Awesome stuff. Now, a few weeks ago, we interviewed a few young people and just asked them what they thought of social networking and Facebook and so on. So we'll take a look at that now.
How much time do you spend on Facebook?
A lot.
I sense there's a story behind this.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time, pretty much. I check it once a day.
Now, how do you feel when someone likes your comment? You know how when you comment or when you put up a status, people can like it or comment. How do you feel when people like your comment?
I like that they like my comment.
So would you describe yourself as like a slave to Facebook?
No, no way. Like, it's alright. I check it like once a day, but it's not like if I don't check it, it's not something that's gonna annoy me.
Why don't you have Facebook?
Because it takes up a lot of time, and I just prefer to catch up with them in person, I guess. Although I understand sharing photos and catching up with friends that are overseas, that's a good benefit for it.
It takes up too much time. I need to spend more time in the real book.
What's the real book?
The Bible.
Do you think it has a strong influence among our young people in today's society?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I don't know quite how because I'm not on Facebook.
So there you have it. What do you think?
I think opinions out. I don't know, a few different opinions.
It was interesting. Yeah.
No, go for it.
It was interesting that one of those girls didn't have Facebook.
Yeah.
So that's surprising.
I haven't had Facebook for 2 months.
2 months. Let's give it a round of applause. That awesome stuff. Now, why do you think people get Facebook?
Well, I personally got it. I have an uncle in London. I've got most of my family, all my family in South Africa. So it's a great way to connect with old friends and family and things like that. For me personally.
Yep. Do you think some people feel lonely and they need to rack up 2,000 friends to make them feel good about themselves?
I definitely think there are some negatives about social networking and Facebook, and I think, yeah, it does become a bit of a challenge to get as many friends as you can. But I also think there are some other negative impacts with social networking, like cyberbullying, which is a huge thing that's come out more recently. And back in my day when I was young, that word didn't even exist, and it's just amazing how it's just taken over. And the other day I was actually, I dropped into the police station to report something, and a young dad was there, and he popped into the station, and he was talking to the officer, and I just overheard, and he's like, "Oh look, I just want to report something. My son's being bullied." And they're like, "Okay, can you give us the names, give us the details?" "Oh, it's over Facebook. It's over the internet. They're threatening that they're going to kill him over the internet, and it's just getting out of hand. And they say that if he comes back to school, they're going to kill him. And you know, it's just snowballing. And I think there can be some huge negative effects of social networking. And I think the way it's hyped up a lot is one of the main problems for it as well."
You're very much right there. It's actually quite scary how big the legal consequences are of, you know, cyberbullying. I think it's because it's such a new thing. All the old laws are still in place, so you know you can go to prison for doing, you know, saying those kind of threats over Facebook. I know it's been a very big thing in, you know, in schools and stuff, and how teachers are really, you know, hammering kids, saying, you know, you got to be careful of the consequences here. Right. And the other thing is that very much with the bullying aspect, you know, 10 years ago, you could escape bullies. You could go home and you wouldn't have to see them. Whereas now, you know, they can message you, they can inbox you, they can post things on your wall. There's only so much blocking that Facebook can really do.
That's right. Even at a university scale, we get lectures at the beginning of the year about that, particularly about commenting and saying things online that's out there for anyone to see about certain people, about lecturers or tutors or people in your class. And that has huge ramifications. You can be kicked out of your course for things like that.
Wow.
Yeah, reputation-wise as well. I mean, I found out that apparently people can, like, people, if they're looking for employing you, they can check out your Facebook, and if they don't like what they say,
scary.
you know, they don't like what you see, you know, ooh.
Wow. I'll have to quickly go take off a few pics from Facebook then.
Pics of you working while working.
doing charity work.
Well, it's funny how fast news travels on Facebook. I've heard so many stories of people getting pregnant or engaged, and everyone finds out on Facebook before they actually tell people. So
when it's Facebook official, everyone knows.
The earthquake. Does anyone remember the earthquake that happened in South Australia at all? In Worcester or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
The only way I remember what that was, because we have a mine not very far from our place, and we thought it was just that, but the, you know, the windows were shuttering, and we're like, oh my goodness, what's happening? And then all of a sudden Facebook just exploded with earthquake. And then I mean, that was...
So it does have its benefits as well. You can find out important information. That's it.
Sweet as, guys. Well, we'll cross over to our science segment now. We have Artie and Ebony. Guys, teach us something.
Well, welcome back to the lab. As you know, we're talking about social networking, and there's all these different kind of things like Twitter, Facebook, MSN, all those different kind of things. And did you want to say something about how?
Yeah, well, we were wondering how we were going to do this with science, and so we just thought instead of talking about social networking as internet websites, we were going to talk about you being a person who is socially networking to others. So you being the core social networker. And so that's where our experiments we're going to be looking at.
So scrap that idea about going on Facebook and posting things. This is about talking to people in real life, you see.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, this is the power source. And this power source can be either an idea, a church group, your school, even your neighbourhood, and
something that acts as a source to enable
enable you to have power. So whether it's the power to enforce the idea or the power
to share to other people.
To share to other people. And so that's the power source, and this light bulb is you. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a simple circuit.
Called a series?
Yes.
Do you know what you're doing?
I try to know. And as you can see,
these
the
lights?
lights are quite dim, but they're still getting some power from the source.
And so you can imagine these light bulbs as being people. So these are the people you're trying to connect to and outreach to.
So we're going to show you another circuit, and this circuit's called a parallel circuit, and this is where each individual person is going to have the same amount of power, the same amount of understanding of this idea or situation, and that's going to create the surge to go straight through, and each one's going to have an equal power source.
Yep. Okay. Like that.
So Artie, do you have a Facebook page?
I do. Have I done something wrong?
I think so. We'll fix it.
Try that. And hopefully this is going to work.
Wait.
No. There you go.
Oh.
Also, well, as you can see, that each light is shining a lot brighter than it was before, because all are connected in a different way to enable everyone to have a better idea of what this source may be.
So that's all we've got time for here in the lab, but we'd just like to leave you with a quote, and our quote is by Bob Berg. "The successful networkers I know are the ones that receive tons of referrals and feel truly happy and successful about themselves. They continually put others first and ahead of their own selves." So over to you in the studio.
Thanks a lot, guys, for that. Now, guys, we've looked at the effects of Facebook and the negative and the positives. Now, Shao, you were mentioning earlier, it's a good thing to keep in touch with your family and that are overseas that might be too expensive to call them. Shadi, you mentioned a man worried about his son getting bullied. So we see that Facebook can have a negative and a positive effect. We know that. And so, how many friends do you have on Facebook? Just to put it out there.
Maybe 400?
400 about, yeah. 400, 500.
Actually, mine's higher than yours.
400, Shani?
I've got about 600, but I don't talk to them all the time. So, obviously it's a little bit hard to juggle 600 people.
Yeah.
So, it's just trying to stay in touch with those people and people you've come across. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I got. I think I got like 800 or something. But how do you determine when you add someone or not? Like someone adds you or you're going to add someone. Do you have? Is there a standard, that's that you have?
Blonde hair and no.
If I don't know them, I won't add them.
No, that's right.
Even also when, say, you go out and you meet someone for the first time or something and then they add you on Facebook, nah. You got to at least talk to them on a regular basis. Yeah. And, I'm guilty of a few friendships like that, but, I should just clean out Facebook friendships.
I don't know about that. I get some people that add me, it's like, I have no idea who you are. Then there's 100 mutual friends. I'm like, I suppose I know you,
Yeah, I've had a few of them.
I don't know. That's me.
I'm the same as you. When people add me and I don't know them, I'm the same. I just be like, oh yeah, why not? Be friends. Well, guys, we'll go over to the health segment and I will see what healthy tips Shani has for us this week. Shani, over to you.
Thanks, Jake. So we've heard that it's said that everybody's connected by 6 degrees of separation. But with the presence of social networking sites, have we become even closer? Not so fast, experts warn. The lack of face-to-face networking can actually drive us apart and may even have direct effects on our physical well-being. This includes altered gene function, immune response, hormone levels, artery function and mental performance as a result of isolation and diminished personal contact. meaning we could be facing a rise in serious health problems such as heart disease, cancer, strokes and dementia. So what are the dangers to our social and mental health? Sites such as Facebook, Twitter and Bebo have been said to shorten attention spans, encourage instant gratification and make young people more self-centred. Psychologists and neuroscientists also believe that repeated exposure to these sites can potentially rewire the brain and end up doing more harm than good. Research has also shown that it is not just the number of relationships formed on sites that affect adolescents' social self-esteem, but rather the quality of the friendships. So basically, you really have to be someone's friend in real life if you're going to get any benefit out of being their friend on a social networking site. So I'm not saying to go and delete the 300 odd random acquaintances you have on Facebook, but rather spend time cultivating real friendships in real life as well as keeping in touch with people online. So use these sites as the creators intended. When used in the right way, they are a valuable resource for information, social support and encouragement. Work out an appropriate amount of time to be on these sites and stick to it. Don't waste your time scrolling through mounds of useless updates. Using social sites to set health goals and establish accountability might be an idea for some. For example, if you intend to lose weight or have decided to get fitter, posting your goals and progress for others to see can be a great boost for seeing you on your way towards better health. So be safe, be wise, and make sure you exercise your social skills in real life as well as online. Back to you, Jake.
Thanks a lot, Shani, for that. So guys, we've looked at, the negative and the positive effects of Facebook, and, to add up roughly how many friends we have on Facebook, there will probably be about 2,000 between the four of us, friends that we have. And it's crazy how much of an influence you can have on those 2,000 people if you think about it. You can have a positive or a negative, influence on those people. And, the Bible, says in John 13:35, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. So, to bring people or to introduce people to Christ, you don't even have to say anything about him. You just have to treat people with love. So the 2,000 people that we have on our Facebooks, now some people have 2,000 people on their own. Now, if you had a positive effect on each and every one of them and they go away and be positive to one other person, imagine the effect on that.
Such a wonderful outreach if you look at it in that light. Such a wonderful ministry.
Also says in 1 Corinthians 13:2, if I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I'm nothing. And that's crazy that the Bible says that. So, you can either influence people on Facebook with love, or you can just tear them down and, break them. But, that's all we have time for today. Thank you to our wonderful panel for joining us again. And thank you to our audience for joining us as well. And thank you for tuning in and taking this time out just to check us out. And we'll be here same time next week, same place. See you then. Peace.
In this bulletin, church agencies clean up after Hurricane Sandy. Alcohol law reform in New Zealand. And a new Coptic Orthodox Pope.
This is In Focus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Hi there and welcome to In Focus. How are Christians perceived by the general public and in the mainstream media? Are there stereotypes and myths out there that need busting? Well, on today's program, we'll meet Simon Smart from the Center for Public Christianity. He's dealing precisely with these issues, and I think you'll want to stick around to hear what he has to say. And as usual, we'll get political perspectives from Canberra and some tips on healthy family relationships from Trafford Fisher. All of that after the news with Danielle.
Thanks, James. Christian groups are reaching out to their neighbours as the damage bill from Hurricane Sandy continues to mount. 185 people are confirmed dead, with the United States, Haiti and Cuba bearing the brunt. Baptist, Anglican, Catholic and other church aid agencies are giving assistance throughout the region. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, is providing emergency food, water and other supplies to survivors in the Dominican Republic and Jamaica. And in New York, Adventists have opened their church buildings to be used as relief centres and are helping with emergency and clean-up supplies. The placement of asylum seekers in offshore processing centres has been controversial in Australia, with many church groups condemning the scheme. But Catholics in the Pacific island of Nauru are expressing their concern through compassion, providing assistance to the 377 asylum seekers being kept there. According to Cath News, the missionaries of the Sacred Heart have established a community centre on Nauru focused on assisting the arrivals with practical and emotional support. More than 1,000 extra asylum seekers are expected in Nauru in the coming months. Christian groups have welcomed the introduction of legislation into the Australian Parliament aimed at minimising the impact of problem gambling. The gambling reform bills will see ATM withdrawals in poker machine venues limited to $250 by February next year. And by 2016, all pokies will be required to be fitted with pre-commitment technology, which stops the gambling session when the player has reached their predetermined limit. The Australian Church's Gambling Task Force has welcomed the bills, even though they say the legislation in its current form doesn't go far enough. And later in the program, we'll hear more on the gambling reforms from the Australian Christian Lobby's Jim Wallace. A series of votes in the New Zealand Parliament is producing the nation's new-look alcohol regulatory framework. But a coalition of health and community groups says their political leaders are missing out on the opportunity to make meaningful reforms in a country where alcoholism is rampant. Alcohol Action NZ says the Law Reform Commission, medical experts and the general public are all in favour of alcohol regulation, including stricter limits on advertising and cheap drinks. Church groups have added their support.
There's an actual direct correlation between the number of alcohol outlets in our communities and the actual amount of crime in that community. Any policeman will tell you that. As soon as there is another alcohol outlet opened, there is an increase in crime.
So far, Parliament has rejected a move towards increasing the drinking age and lowering the alcohol content of Alco Pops. Church bombings and shootings in Nigeria have left 41 people dead and more than 100 injured. According to Release International, a series of attacks in the northern city of Potiskum killed 31 and prompted hundreds of Christians to flee the area, fearing further violence. And Nigeria's Punch reports a suicide bomber killed 8 worshippers at a Catholic church in Kaduna. In response, angry Christian youths took to the streets, killing 7 people in reprisal attacks. Although no one has claimed responsibility for the attacks, the Islamist Boko Haram group is widely believed to have carried them out. Protestant Christians in Russia fear a return to the bad old days of persecution if new religion laws pass through the nation's parliament. According to Mission Network News, a law is being considered that would impose a 3-year prison sentence for insulting religious feelings. Protestants are concerned the law would be applied unevenly by a government that only recognises the Orthodox Church, Judaism, Islam and Buddhism as the nation's traditional faiths. The World Evangelical Alliance has expressed concern after one politician said some Pentecostal groups are extremist cults. And the Christian Post reports the proposed law may see the Apple computer logo banned in Russia, with critics saying it's offensive and represents Eden's forbidden fruit. Tokyo is one of the world's least evangelised cities, with secularism posing tremendous challenges to traditional outreach methods. But amongst the city's 13 million plus population, there are 3,000 Seventh-day Adventists who are committed to make a difference. Right now, members are hosting prayer rallies, revival meetings and Bible studies, and they're using social media, friendship evangelism and community service to connect with their neighbours. 2013 will see what's expected to be the Adventist Church's largest concerted effort to reach Tokyo for Christ.
Evangelism in Japan is very difficult, but not impossible. By love of God, by grace of Jesus Christ, and power of Holy Spirit, it will be possible.
The Tokyo Initiative is part of a renewed emphasis on urban evangelism by Adventists that will see public events in many of the world's major cities next year. A blindfolded child has selected a new pope for the world's 15 million Coptic Orthodox believers. In a ceremony in Cairo, a period of silence was observed in recognition of God's leading before the young boy pulled a piece of paper out of a crystal chalice bearing the name of Bishop Tawadros. According to news.com.au, it was one of 3 candidates' names shortlisted in a church leader's vote. Pope Tawadros II will be officially inaugurated later this month and faces the challenge of leading a church that makes up 10% of Egypt's population, while Islamist groups push for more influence. And just before I sign off, Record in Focus would like to congratulate Stuart Tipple, who has been awarded the annual President's Medal by the Law Society of New South Wales. Mr Tipple provided legal advice and representation for fellow Adventists Michael and Lindy Chamberlain after their baby was taken by a dingo at Ayers Rock in 1980. He has continued to support them right up to the 3rd and final coronial inquest earlier this year. Mr Tipple has also provided pro bono support to war widows and their families and the Salvation Army. Well done, Stuart. And that's the news for this week. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Danielle. Don't go away. Politics in Focus is right after this short break. Because of the generosity of our supporters, It Is Written was able to take the Bible to the Kalahari Bushmen of Africa with solar-powered MP3 players. And through their continuing support, It Is Written is taking our unique pigeon God pods to Papua New Guinea with the everlasting gospel for those who, through no fault of their own, cannot read or write. Only through the ongoing donations and prayers of our supporters can It Is Written continue to grow and achieve so much. Thank you.
I want it to be more than just another number at a big university.
At Avondale, you can study degrees in
business,
arts,
science,
education,
and nursing. Class sizes aren't too big, so you can get the help you need from your lecturers.
Plus, there's HECS and fee help available.
To find out more, go to findyourinspiration.tv.
Go to findyourinspiration.tv or call 1800 991 392.
So find your inspiration
at Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Welcome back. And now Jim Wallace joins me with this week's political perspective from Canberra. Thanks for your time, Jim.
Thank you, Ken.
Jim, the issue over gambling reform in Australia, particularly poker machine regulation, has been the subject of sometimes heated debate over the last year or so. But I understand, Jim, there's now some light at the end of the tunnel, courtesy of the federal government.
Yes, there is. I guess you'd have to say thanks to the federal government and the Greens, because there's been a compromise reached there where they're going to introduce a trial of what is voluntary pre-commitment. So someone will voluntarily pre-commit to how much they're prepared to lose. But also there's a limit placed on the withdrawals that can be made from ATMs within a certain zone of the gambling place, So I think this is a good development. Obviously, it's a very, very small step, though. Both the Church's task force, the Church's gambling task force, and ourselves, and we're part of that, are very much insistent that this should go further, that we should look at mandatory pre-commitment, because it doesn't matter how well you try with the voluntary system, people will get round that. And also, of course, we'd like to see a limit, a $1 limit on bets, which would be an obvious way of reducing the effect of problem gambling.
Okay. In Western Australia, I understand, Jim, there have been some moves towards protecting children from sexualised images in public spaces and the media. How's this likely to work?
Well, we hope in the first instance that it might limit what we see on these billboards, so that billboards should be G-rated. Certainly that's what we'll be pushing for, as we have in other states. Obviously it's got to go further than that, though, because the sexualisation of children comes through a whole lot of means these days. It clearly comes through the internet, through social media, and we need to have some sort of internet service provider filtering, which makes sure that this is filtered out for people who aren't of an age to receive it. And and obviously it goes to the standards on TV and general media. So it's a very big subject.
And are those the sorts of strategies the WA government is likely to pursue?
Well, they're looking into this, and certainly there are calls for this in other European countries in particular. And so I think there's a general backlash now, particularly by parents who are realising that this sexualisation of children, their children, is not a good thing. And you have to realise that increasingly, and many of you viewers will have experienced this, maybe in their own children even, that we're getting younger and younger children who are speaking of and understanding sexualised contexts that they really shouldn't be aware of at their particular age. And this is all because of what they're exposed to through the media.
Now, didn't Premier Campbell Newman make an election promise to implement similar reforms in Queensland?
That's right, and this revolves particularly around the G-rated billboards. We're still to see that, but that was achieved as a commitment for him to look at before the last election, and we'll certainly be following that up.
Well, no doubt Queenslanders will be looking out for how that develops. Thanks for your time, Jim.
Thank you, Ken.
And that's Politics in Focus for this week. We'll take a short break.
So you think you've got your future all planned out, right? Or maybe you're not sure yet. What you want to do, who you want to be. A great education matters. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Well, it's great to have Trafford Fisher back with us. He's a family life expert. And Trafford, you're here to talk to us about bullying. What about bullying?
It's a horrible thing, James, and it's right across the board in our society now, sadly. We've got, well, usually we think of bullying often as physical.
Sure.
And that it is.
Right.
But we have to think much broader, of course. We've got emotional bullying, psychological bullying. And we've got, it's across genders, so we have boy, girl, male, female. It's from childhood right through to the workplace.
Right.
And we've got sexting, text stuff. We've got Facebook. We've got SMS. We've got all these different ways of sending bullying messages as well as in the playground. So it's a horrible thing.
Well, I'm a parent, and a lot of people watching are parents. How could we tell if our kids were being bullied?
I think particularly, James, when the kids are a bit smaller, what we need to look for is any change from the usual.
Sure.
For instance, if he's normally happy to go to school, walks to school with all his mates, but this morning, and a growing number of mornings, he doesn't want to walk to school, wants mum to take him. If he's normally catches a bus or train, and that's that's just too much. If they wake up feigning illness, or they're complaining of illness, then they might genuinely feel ill.
Sure.
But it's more than usual. If a child comes home from school and there's unexplained clothing torn, or rips and tears, or his school bags damaged. If he says something about my toy, that he always treasures this toy and takes to school and it's missing, and he seems to be missing toys, obviously giving them away to appease. I think some of the things that any change really, eating habits, they change and eat, sleeping. There's some cues that something's going on.
Quite a broad thing. Now, I just want to say, I went to boarding school, and I'm not going to give you a sub story, but there was some bullying that went on, and I survived it.
You did, but I guess how might you have been if you didn't experience any of that bullying? And I think some people, you may be right, maybe we're very resilient people, but a lot of us aren't.
Sure.
And bullying can just really eat away at our sense of self, our sense of value, our sense of worth, and we just struggle. In dealing with relationships, getting on with home life. School suffers incredibly, duty. So you're right, there may be some who just seem to bounce along. My concern might be if they are the ones who seem to be bouncing along, may they in turn be doing some bullying.
That's a very
so
good
they get
point,
their strength from, I'm being bullied, but I'm going to bully back in return.
Right.
Not always,
it's sort of one of those things where it sort of happens to one person, then that culture is built, isn't it?
Yeah, and it just gets worse and worse. You know, you've got the guy in the workplace who has the idea that, you know, I got to be strong, I got to be seen as assertive, and I got to be, you know, I'm the successful businessman, and to be successful, I've got to, you know, control the roost, and he does it just by bullying.
Yeah,
you know,
very good point.
Grown up with that sense of, you know, being in charge.
Well, I think you've raised a very good point. I think we have to continue this conversation. It's such a big issue.
It's huge.
We'll look forward to having you back again. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
Want to know the answers to your deepest questions? Log on to discoverycourses.com. 15 totally free courses discuss spirituality, lifestyle, archaeology and health. Make your personal discovery today at discoverycourses.com.
Welcome back. Well, it's great to have Simon Smart. He's a director of the Center of Public Christianity here on the set. Thanks so much, Simon, for making time. Now, I should say, you're someone who we've wanted to have on for a while because this Center for Public Christianity has really caught our imagination. Just introduce it to us.
Thanks a lot, James. It's great to be here. Great to be able to talk about Centre for Public Christianity, or CPX, we like to shorten it to often. But we are an independent media company that's trying to promote the public understanding of the Christian faith, to present the Christian worldview to contemporary culture, and we're trying to do that in a way that is credible, thoughtful and respectful.
Now, what I've noticed is that I've seen pieces by people who are associated with CPX in, I think, the Sydney Morning Herald, in other mainstream papers. You're also on television periodically. Is that part of your mission? Is that core to what you're doing?
Yeah, what we're trying to do that, the things that I described earlier, and in a whole lot of different ways, one of which is to speak and write for the mainstream media. And so we're trying to get in there to be part of the conversation that the public are hearing. We're really focusing on the public. We're not focusing primarily on a Christian audience, but we want to be out there in the public space, bringing a credible voice of Christianity into those conversations that are already taking place. So yes, we write for major newspapers when we can, and online news sites and that type of thing.
So what kind of reception are you getting out there? You write primarily in Australia, though I know that your stuff goes globally. What kind of reception?
Well, it's a little bit hard to judge. I mean, lots of people who like what we do like it. The people who don't really don't. So when we write for mainstream media, but I think this is typical of lots of commentary these days, you get lots of comments, many of them are negative. But I guess we're trying to just go with that, be part of what's going on, and also accept sometimes that we're going to cop some criticism for the things we're saying. But I think that I was actually surprised at the way it's been received by the media themselves. They're happy to hear from people who they think are reasonable and well thought out. So we're hoping that that's what we are. And we're able to get in lots of places, actually.
Because the columns that I've seen are quite intellectually stimulating. I mean, they're nicely written, they're well-reasoned. Do you find that people are looking for that kind of voice from Christianity? Because often I guess we have a very strong showing in the emotive arena, right, with music and worship and so forth. But the intellectual side of things seems to have been a little bit rocky in recent years.
Well, I'm glad you think it is like that. We're hoping so. And there is definitely some perceptions of Christianity that we're trying to overcome, some of which are just caricatures. So the fact that many people will say Christianity is really sort of infantile or anti-intellectual. And we're very much trying to overcome that. We don't think it is that. We think Christianity is a very sophisticated faith, and that while there's a whole, you don't have to be a super intellect, of course, to accept Christianity, but the fact that there are some very, very weighty intellects and people who are some of the great writers and thinkers and scientists and so on who are Christian and have a lot to say into that space, we think it's worth bringing that to the public.
So we know about all these great writers and thinkers and artists of a bygone age. Are you saying that today you're locating great scientists of today who are believers?
Certainly that's true. And we've one of the issues we picked up on a couple of years ago was the issue of science and faith. Are those two things in conflict? And we put together a whole lot of material, video and print and so on, of not all Christians, but lots of them were Christians who are top scientists in their field. And I think that's just worth just talking about the fact that there are people who clearly don't see a natural conflict between their scientific work and their Christian faith. And we had some really amazing people come and speak to us in our studio and write for us and so on. And I just think it's really worth getting that out because it overcomes a really unfair criticism that would say, look, we've all grown up, our society, our culture's moved past those sort of ancient, sort of foolish, uneducated beliefs.
Superstitions.
And we're sort of on some trajectory towards something better by trusting in humanity's own knowledge. Of course, there are many more complicated issues to do with that question.
Sure.
And we're just trying to overcome some of those misconceptions.
What would you say to somebody who says, look, we've been down the path of religion all those years, thousands of years, Christianity had a chance to, 2,000 years to prove itself, war, destruction, pestilence, everything. What would your response be?
Well, you certainly get that sort of critique voiced in the public, and you get it from the new atheists, Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens when he was alive, Sam Harris and others. And so it's become almost sort of accepted wisdom in certain circles that that is the case. That religion once was something maybe we got to a point where we thought we could just ignore it. But now there's this message that it's actually almost a sinister or negative thing. Now, we want to address that issue, that question, and engage with those sorts of conversations because there's a couple of things I want to say about that. One would be some of the critiques that are being made I would acknowledge are valid. Sure. There have been some terrible things done by people who are religious. I'd say even people who are Christian and following, claiming to be following Christ. Now, there's some shameful things in our history that we ought to be ashamed of, embarrassed of, and so on. But there's a much bigger story to be told than that. Sure. And so we want to be in there talking about, okay, we can acknowledge some of these critiques are valid. A lot of them are really unfair. That historians of all sorts of flavours, whether they're believers or not, will say actually that's a really sort of a high school version of history.
Right, very simplistic.
Very simplistic, not taking into account a whole lot of things. So, for instance, you mentioned religion and conflict and violence. Of course, that's true, that religion has caused a lot of conflict. Christianity has been involved in all of that, unfortunately. But there's much more complex sort of interaction between economics and politics and cultural forces, seeking of power and using religion for that rather than looking at what's at the core of the faith. And that's what we're coming back to. Because obviously in that one, if you're saying you're following Christ and you're also using violence in your activity, you're defying Christ.
Something's wrong. So a corruption of the faith doesn't necessarily create the best critique of the actual faith.
It doesn't. Right. Not only that, but the history's often one that I think needs a little bit more investigation.
Sure, absolutely. Now, there's going to be a lot of people watching who are maybe in uni, maybe older in life, and just saying, does Christianity, is it for real? Where can they go for more information to get a sort of a reasoned, thoughtful response to some of the questions that are out there?
Well, there's lots of places. I'd hope you'd be able to find our Centre for Public Christianity and our website. We have a library of material.
Superb.
Hundreds of video interviews with experts in various fields and so on, with print material, podcast material, that sort of
Maybe
thing.
I should just show a couple things that you brought in. This is a book of compiled essays from some of the people who have...
articles and interviews as well. Yep.
And then you also have a video about the life of Christ, which, how does this differ from... the Passion of the Christ or one of these things?
Okay, well, Passion of the Christ is a movie. This is a documentary. It's a historical documentary that we did a few years ago, The Life of Jesus. It is a documentary that looks at what all ancient historians of whatever belief would agree are the core facts of Christ's life. And then a whole lot of questions that emerge from Christ's life and that we sort of investigate there as well.
Well, excellent. Thanks so much for your work, Simon. What you're doing is superb and very, very valuable, and we're so glad that you made time to spend time with us.
Oh, thanks, James. Great to be here.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
Who is Jesus? A 6-part exploration of the life and the teachings of Jesus Christ. In this series, we'll look at how Jesus helps us understand issues facing us today, such as pain and healing, how we treat each other, worry-free living, fear of the future, and the kingdom of God. That's our quest, to come eye to eye, if you will, with Jesus, the real Jesus.
Are there too many gadgets in your life? I mean, think about the humble phone. 150 years ago, there was no phone. Then the town phone, a neighbourhood phone, your home phone, the mobile phone, now a smart slow phone, the smart fast satellite find me when I'm lost, iPhone, Android phone, Windows phone, me phone, your phone, the other phone, overwhelming. All the smartphone smarts come from 42 million teeny transistors squeezed into a half postage stamp, sized bit of molten sand. Yes, your humble sand from the sandy beach sand. Each transistor can say yes or no in a binary bit, on or off, 1 or 0, yes, no, until now. Scientists are developing quantum computers in Australia, in Sydney, at the University of New South Wales, just 20 kilometres from this studio 2 months ago. After 14 years of non-stop super brainy effort, the geeks with multiple doctorates have built the first silicon-based quantum bit. Now, what's this? Well, to be extremely simple, a single quantum bit stores lots and lots of answers. Not just yes or no, but every shade of grey in between. Millions of answers in a single quantum bit with millions of bits, each with millions of answers in a single postage stamp made out of melted sand. So what gadgets are coming next? And if humans can do this in 14 years, what has God done with eternity? No wonder the Bible exclaims, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, what no human mind has conceived, these things has God prepared for those who love him. So always remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, God loves you.
Thanks, James, and thank you for watching.
Now, James, I'm very jealous. James is heading to America next week. So, James, tell us about that. What's the plan?
Well, I'm going to Manhattan. I'm going to be preaching there as part of the lead-up to a major evangelistic series. And then I'm heading to Las Vegas, Sin City itself, where I'll be giving a series. And while I'm in Washington, D.C., I hope to catch up with my old colleagues from the U.S. government and also from the headquarters of the Adventist Church.
Wow, sounds very, very busy. And we hope you have a safe trip, of course. But you'll still be making an appearance on In Focus.
Yes, as everything goes to plan, we'll have some film from over there, and I look forward to being on the show next week again.
Awesome, that sounds great. You know what? We hope you have a great week too. God bless.